the one person that carried Scream 5 on their freaking shoulders was Jenna Ortega. Hey guys, welcome back to Canon Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing Scream 2022, otherwise known as 5 Cream. Missed opportunity. Just total missed opportunity. Would have been so fun to see it on posters and have people just say it all the time. But here we are. All right. So I am a massive Scream fan. It was my first horror movie ever. And I just love that they go through all of the tropes while still crafting one of the best horror films of all time. That's right, I said it. It's so good. Wes Craven, I can't thank him enough for this franchise. And I know that Kevin Williamson and him have tag teamed in the previous films, but you could kind of feel Wes's absence in this film. And I'm going to explain why. First and foremost, I personally think that this 5th installment was completely unnecessary. As much as I love the franchise, I think that going into the TV route, the way they did with the Scream TV series, which I really enjoyed, and they brought some originality to these characters, I think that it really worked in that way to introduce a whole new wave, a whole new generation to Ghostface and, the legacy of Woodsboro, the stories of Woodsboro. I think that it really worked as a TV series after Scream 4. So I personally think that Scream 4 had a neat and tidy ending for Sidney Prescott, for Dewey Riley, for Gale Weathers, and I think that it was strong enough to not get anything after Scream 4. So I was perfectly content with 1, 2, 3, and 4 because it just hits the bases of everyone connected to Sidney Prescott. In this particular case, what they did with the connection of the legacy characters being linked to the new characters that I still forget the names of because I just did not connect with any of them, which is very unfortunate. It's just the fact that they rely way too much on the history of Woodsboro and connecting it to the Stab movies and then trying to restart the franchise with new characters. I think that they tried to do way too much with this. Is it a bomb tribute 25 years later to the first Scream? Of course it is. But how far can you actually take the metafiction writing in Scream? How far can we take it here? Because they were very self-aware, but they kept making references to the first Stab movie, which is essentially, as we all know, the first Scream movie. We know that. So to have them reference that and then reference the actual characters and having Sidney there, and it was just way too much for me. And I was getting more annoyed with it because they were really spelling out what the franchise is all about. They were really just over explaining. And that's where it kind of turned me off, where as a diehard fan of Scream, we know that they do that, but there's a level of I want to say finesse when it comes to integrating those tropes instead of beating everyone over the head with what they're trying to do. And I think they did that in Scream 5, where it's you're mimicking everything that was said by Randy Meeks in the first one. You're mimicking Stu Macher and Billy Loomis in the third act of this film instead of creating original characters moving forward for this franchise to restart. You made Scream 5 to restart everything with new characters. You have Sam Carpenter, you have Tara Carpenter. So you have Tara Carpenter and Sam Carpenter as the new final girls. That's fine. They're kind of taking over for Sidney, I guess, that it's now Sam Carpenter's story. I personally don't think that Melissa Barrera is a strong enough actor to carry a franchise because we do know that Scream 6 is already like greenlit. It's in the works. They're starting filming, I think, this summer. And obviously there's going to be a Scream 7 with Barrera at the forefront. Sam's character is really just bland. And I don't know if that was like the direction that they wanted to go in for Sam Carpenter, or that's just like Barrera trying to come up with the character for Samantha, but I just don't think that it was strong enough whatsoever to carry this. The one person that carried Scream 5 on their freaking shoulders was Jenna Ortega. So you need to keep her there in order for Melissa Barrera to give us really anything moving forward. And they're both like a package deal moving forward. They need to both be central focus. It can't just be Sam because of her attachment to Billy Loomis. That is the thing too with this film, with the legacy characters. You had Sam attached to Billy Loomis because she is basically the bastard child of his, and she has these, I guess, visions of Billy, which I disagree with because I think that that's really just lazy writing in order to make everything relevant to the legacy characters in order to restart this. I think that that was just a cop-out to say that Billy just like knocked up her mom, and I just didn't like that they did that whatsoever. I thought it was so stupid to bring that back because we're so far past that storyline. Yeah, Billy Loomis is like iconic in like horror genre for sure. So is Stu Macher, but to have that tie to it and have her as a final girl who could possibly have a psychotic break, like we don't know that, or that like she's very aware that her dad was a serial killer and that's why she's trying to like pull back from Tara as well. So it's just, I understand it, doesn't mean I have to like it. I don't like that they did that whatsoever. I don't like that they were in Stu Macher's house in the third act. Like, I didn't even realize it was that until they said it. And I'm like, of course you had to tie everything together and make a good movie out of it. So I didn't really like that. There's similar scenes from the first one redone in this one, like when they were watching Halloween and, you know, Randy Meeks is talking to the screen, telling Jamie Lee Curtis to watch out behind her because Michael was there. The exact same thing happens in this movie, except they're watching Stab, which is Randy Meeks, and Randy Meeks is like the uncle of the twins. One of the twins is sitting there watching like this happen and doing the exact same thing that her uncle did. Like, it's too much. The whole I'll be back, these lines are like word for word. And it's just, I know this is not going to make sense with me saying it because of the metafiction and because they're using similar tropes and all of that. But for me, this one just lacked any form of originality. And I know that you're sitting there like, but the Scream movies are technically all the same. They have the exact same structure. I understand that. But at the same time, you have characters that are written in a way that seem fresh when you're watching it. Like I as much as I don't like Emma Roberts, I think her performance as Jill and the character of Jill and the motive of Jill made complete sense in context to the entire franchise and in context to Sidney Prescott. I also think that the killers were very predictable. I pegged them within the first 15 minutes of meeting both of them. And it was just so bad. It was just, the script was just not good. It wasn't good. It wasn't as good as 1 to 4. And I know what you're thinking, Amanda, what are you talking about Scream 3? But that was still good enough to get by considering how many issues Scream 3 went through in changing the script, that it was good for what it was and still connected to Sidney. In this case, Sidney didn't have to be in this. Dewey sure as hell didn't need to be in this. And Gail didn't need to be in this either. If you're going to restart the entire franchise, there was no need to bring the legacy characters back. But you made that link. And it just made for a really terrible motive. A terrible motive that has to do with fandom and the diehard fans being happy about the original and why would you have to change anything from the original versus like new fans and wanting something a bit different and changing it up and then like countering that and then finding each other on like Reddit, the two killers. And it just didn't, it got away from them. It just was too much for me to sit there and enjoy it because I was getting more irritated as the film went on. Did I love seeing Sidney Prescott back on screen again? 100%. Neve Campbell saying, I'm Sidney Prescott. Of course I have a gun. Like that is just like my favorite thing ever. Gale and Dewey, that whole situation was so poorly written, was so bad that we had to like fill in the blanks of what happened to their relationship. Like it just didn't make any sense. Dewey dying was probably the dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life because all he had to do was get in that elevator and he's worried about a headshot when has everyone safe and then he's safe. That was just so unnecessary to kill off Dewey. It was just, you didn't need to do that. But of course, why would Sidney come for Gale? Because Dewey died. I understand that. I get all of it. Again, I don't have to like it. This script wasn't that great. And almost every single Scream script has been really well structured, consistent to the characters and their motives and their tie to Sidney Prescott. And this was just lacking all around. I don't know how they're going to make 6 and 7. And I'm saying 7 because I already know that 6 is going to do extremely well if people are already on board with 5. I love Scream. I love the franchise so much. Of course, I'm going to go watch 6. It's the same thing with like the Halloween franchise. Like I loved Halloween 2018. Absolutely couldn't stand Halloween Kills, but my butt will be in that seat for Halloween Ends. So it's just like how much you love the franchise. You just want it to be as good as the original. And maybe I'm playing myself with this review and they are roasting me for saying the exact same thing in their motivation of trying to, you know, make a bigger and better film. And they're roasting me with this level of criticism that I'm giving it. So it's always fun to talk about it. Am I expecting like award-worthy writing? No, but make it make sense. You know, I think that watching Scream 1 to 4 is like a perfect little package, the 4 of them, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But this 5th one just really brings it down. It really brings it down. It's the first miss for me in the franchise. Even though I don't like Scream 3 that much, I still appreciated what they did with it. Great haircuts all around, especially Courtney Cox. So I'm just gonna do like a mini ranking of the Scream movies as well right now, really quick, since I kind of gave my thoughts on all of them. Number 5, I have Scream 5, unfortunately. At number 4, I have Scream 3. As I said, really messy, but still ties into what Sidney and her journey was for her character. Then at number 3, I have Scream 4. I really enjoy it. Maybe it's because it was the first Scream movie that I watched in theaters. I really love the new characters. It was a good balance and it wasn't like over explaining these tropes. Like I said with Scream 5, I think the new characters being so invested with the legacy characters worked and it wasn't a weird obsession over it. And they did use similar things from the first one. But again, it wasn't like mimicking certain scenes from the first Scream. Coming in at number 2, I have Scream 2. I think that it's literally on par with the first Scream. I also love the killers and the reveal. Again, it services the story of Sidney Prescott and it ties to her perfectly. I think that they really nailed it within the first 4 films, as I said. And then of course, we have the OG sitting at number 1. That thing I will watch annually every October 1st. It is tradition right now. It's also a fantastic first-time horror film for anyone to get into the genre. You really ease into it because I was absolutely terrified of anything to do with horror films, and then Scream really just made me appreciate it all. So that's the recommendation that I give people. If you are not a horror fan, give Scream a try. You'll fall in love with this franchise, dip your toe in it, and then you'll be just as obsessed with the horror genre as I am. So that was my ranking. That is my review for Scream 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know how you would rank the entire Scream franchise. Let me know how you feel about Scream 5. Please don't yell at me. You guys can always follow me over at AMX NDay Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.